when I play live, I can only focus on a certain number of knobs and buttons. In case of the Sherman filter bank, I tend to use only 4, maximum 6 knobs. But that's totally enough to shape a techno sequence in a really cool way, which makes sense. And that's what I did in the video as well. Today I'm gonna show you how to perform the Sherman filter bank on a techno sequence from the DFAM from Moog, in combination with this dark star reverb from Old Blood Noise in Divas. If you want to learn how to program a techno sequence on the Moog, click this link. Okay, let me explain you what's going on here real quick. Yeah, the output from the Moog is going into the Sherman filter, and I also use a trigger signal from the Moog, which sends a little trigger on each note to the Sherman. That's because, yeah, I'll show you. Let's remove this. If the volume is not high enough, it will not trigger the input gate. So it just reacts from here, and if this is too much distortion for you already, then that would be yeah, not good. So to avoid this and to be able to use it on lower volumes and maybe no distortion, I use this trigger, and it still triggers no matter how loud the input is. You see, it's still triggered. The Sherman filter has got a long history. It's around since, I think, 1995 already. And I actually owned one around 2002, 2003 already. I owned it a couple of years, and at the beginning I used it only for sound design. It was at the beginning of Riemann Kollektion, actually. Well, the company was not existing, but I was starting to build my own library, and I remember I used it to create those sounds with an edge, you know, those noisy sounds. But I didn't use it much on my own music, because yeah, I was DJing quite hard techno at that time, but minimal came along, and minimal was really clean, you know, the sounds were really clean, not much distortion, and I wanted to produce minimal techno. So I didn't use it that much anymore, and I finally had to sell it when I was in London and moving to Berlin, because it was too heavy. I couldn't take it with me on the plane. That was a bit sad, because I kind of knew that I would need it in the future. I kind of knew that, you know, but anyways, I had to sell it, and yeah, I didn't have it for maybe 10 years or so, and then the compact version came along, and I thought, I think now it's time to get it again. And yeah, I'm really lucky I did, because yeah, the compact version has got these ins and outs and at the front, and it's a bit smaller, so it's a bit easier to take it to gigs. That's the original. It's a true bypass. So here's quite long, or as long as it's and here you can make it percussive. The two filters are chained with this harmonics knob. I use it on setting 2, which means if this is, let's say, at 100 Hz, this is at 50 Hz, so it's a half frequency. And I added some resonance. Like, this would be a bit too clean. With the resonance you can make it a bit more dirty, or let's say aggressive, and a bit more gives some acid sounds. To make it a bit more organic, I added some attack, decay, sustain, release on the filter frequency. So this will be a bit static. And if I add that, it gives a bit of movement to the filter, which is quite organic. Original with the filter. And here is a little bit of LFO as well. It's a quite fast LFO on the filter frequency, which makes it quite noisy, and we can make a kind of percussive sound. I'll show you that in a minute. The Sherman filter bank is really good to get some extra life out of monotone synth sequences or even drum beats, because it reacts to the input signal. It has a gate, an input gate, and an envelope follower, and it's all connected internally, and you can modulate a lot of things with each other, and it really has got a life on its own. And yeah, in a live performance situation, I would maybe start with the noisy percussion. So we make it short, the input gate, with the release time of the input gate. Add some LFO on the filter frequency. And maybe bring in the sequence like this. So there would be a cool beat with a strong bass line maybe, and this percussive sound in the background. Then I would maybe filter it up much slower in reality, but let's do this really quick. And if you're around here, you could make the sequence a bit more harmonic, so you reduce LFO. So you can hear the notes a bit better and make them a bit longer. And maybe that's already the first break, you know? So you put out the kick drum and make the sequence a bit more present. And then maybe reduce the frequency and bring in the kick again. So that's the first break maybe. So you can get really creative with the combinations of filter frequency, input gate, release time length. You can add resonance and make almost everything sound like acid, you know. It has got an LFO which can go to really high frequencies and add a kind of noise. Then you can play around a bit with the frequency, maybe also with the length a little bit. And to give it a bit more craziness, you can add some resonance and bring up the frequency. So maybe you are arriving to the main break. Give it a bit more resonance, so you have this signature acid sound. Remove the kick drum. Maybe make it really short. And bring in the kick again. Maybe with a ride. Then maybe slowly reduce the resonance. Play around with the noise, with LFO. With the length. for the outro, maybe go down with the frequency and add a bit more LFO. So you come back to this kind of noisy, percussive sound again. Reduce the length. And yeah, that could be the outro of the track. So that's how I would perform this patch on a techno sequence in a live situation. And if you want to have techno sequences like this, recorded in real high quality, visit our web store. The link is in the description.